Welcome to Tuesday morning and this new course called Don't Get Hooked. Okay, so this begins as we normally do. We take refuge together and we generate a mind of enlightenment. We'll consider the four boundless thoughts as the precursor to the mind of enlightenment. We'll say a mantra together for a little bit and then we'll actually engage in the class. So just a couple of slides here, like I said, refuge in body chitta, the four boundless thoughts, and we'll say a mantra together, then begin. So please just get comfortable in your seat. You want to have your back straight and your shoulders relaxed. Just check that your head is sort of sitting evenly on your neck. And then sort of drop your eyes so that they're either completely closed or they're partially closed. You have a little bit of light coming in. And when you are sitting comfortably and at ease, then just let the body breathe itself. And relaxing into awareness. Imagine the ground beneath you is very, very soft, made of starry sapphire light. And the space above you is filled with rainbows and offerings. Directly in front of you, at the level of your eyebrows, in space, is a throne. And on that throne is a lotus. On top of the lotus is a sun disk lying flat, and on top of that, a moon disk lying flat. And sitting on the moon disk is the Buddha Shakyamuni. Golden in color. He's wearing the three robes of the monk. His left hand, he's holding a begging bowl. His right and hand reach down to touch the earth. And he is surrounded by an assembly of enlightened beings. These include bodhisattvas, deities, and other beings like the protectors. Meanwhile, we are sitting on the ground. It's very soft, or up on our seat, it's very soft, and we're surrounded by all sentient beings. And these include our parents, family, relatives, strangers, and difficult people. And we take the time now to appreciate that we are still alive. And while we are alive, we have the leisure and opportunity to attain the spiritual goal that we've set for ourselves. We will need to act quickly though, because everything is in a constant state of flux and change. We have met a spiritual friend, and they are leading us in the safe direction of these three rare subliments. Finding confidence in the Buddha, his teachings, and his community, we have decided to bring all sentient beings along with us to that same three objects of refuge. So to make the offering of practice as purely as possible, recollect emptiness. Imagine that the wisdom that realizes this emptiness takes the form of a clear deity. You're saying, this is me, this is who I actually am. In one hand you hold the vajra, and in the other the bell. This symbolizes emptiness and bodhicitta. I think that you're sitting within a sphere of great enjoyment. So you feel good. You feel good because you have it within you to lead all these beings who surround you in the safe direction of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And so you say, I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. In response, this wish of ours, from the heart of each enlightened being above you, lights and nectar stream down, and these dissolve into yourself and all living beings. And the negative karma and obstructions collected over countless lifetimes are purified. And your good health and lifespan, your virtues, your understandings and realizations, these are all increased. To think that your body, speech, and mind have been cleansed by the wisdom realizing emptiness. They've also been fortified with compassionate love. And so you recollect the four immeasurable thoughts of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And you decide to develop these yourself and help everybody else do the same. And to affirm that, you say, may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that is without suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from the bars of attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. In response to this wish of ours, from the heart of each enlightened being, lights and nectar stream down. And again, these dissolve into yourself and all the living beings surrounding you. And all of our obstructions and negative karmas are purified. Our good health and our lifespan are increased, along with our virtues and realizations and understandings. So next time you inhale, exhale and completely just relax. Just let the air go and relax completely. And from within this relaxed state of awareness, imagine you can hear the mantra of the Buddha. And the sounds of this mantra reveal a complete path to enlightenment. And hearing the mantra, we recite it, let's say, 3 times, and then under your breath silently a number of other times. So please join me in saying, Taya Tam Muni Muni Maha Muni Taya Tam Muni Muni Maha Muni Taya Tam Maha Muni. I think that depends upon hearing the sound of the mantra. You've brought all beings to enlightenment. You've accomplished your own aims and are able to fulfill the aims of others. I think this is your wish. Your wish is to develop your wisdom and your compassion and all your skills fully, so you're able to effortlessly and spontaneously help others free themselves from suffering and its causes and develop all good qualities. Breathing in through your nostrils, exhale through your mouth, and let your eyes flutter up and bring your awareness back to the room. So again, welcome. And we're starting a new course today. It's about what we call the 8 worldly concerns. And so today we're going to sort of introduce what these 8 are. And you'll see here the concerns that deal with our way of being in the world, ourselves as people, and our feelings. But also how and what we're concerned with in terms of our reputation and in society itself. So today we're primarily going to focus on just introducing these 8 worldly concerns. They're made up of 4 pairs, so you'll know what they are by the end of this morning. In our second class, we start looking at them and to know what can we do about them. So next week we'll look at the physical and felt concerns, and the week after the social and reputational concerns. So although there's not a lot of material that you can find online about this, I mean, if you plug it into a Google search or something, that is helpful. It'll take you off to different places and commentaries. But there's one of the things that they say in the text, they talk about equalizing these worldly concerns. But there's no information about how you do that. So that's a little tricky. Anyway, this book here, Science and Philosophy, there's quite a useful commentary there by the Dalai Lama on what it means to equalize, what this word means and how you can do it. The book next to it, How to Practice Dharma, Teachings on the 8 Worldly Dharmas by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, it's probably the best you'll read here. Really in depth, but at the same time readable and easily understandable, and an explanation of terms that I've never come across before, like the word worldly, for instance, and even the word dharma. It's a different meaning here than what we normally understand it to be. Teachings from Tibet down the bottom there. There's another little commentary on that, really concerns by the Dalai Lama. And of course, Foundation of Buddhist Practice, another commentary. So I try to get these ones with this holiness doing it, because often we get a little bit more depth into it. Plus, it's very readable. Yes, I've used these primary books here. But what we'll be doing today is we're going to be looking at what we call the reactivity, like what generates these worldly concerns. And it's basically a reactive state of mind. We'll talk about that. And then we come to these 4 pairs. And finally, what we might be able to do about that. And like I said, we cover that in more depth next week and the week after. Okay, so let's begin by looking at this section on reactivity. So we talk about these 8 worldly concerns. They are effects that produce more behaviors. So an effect has to have a cause, right? So the causes of these 8 worldly concerns, they're basically rooted in clinging. And the clinging has these 2 aspects. So one is called self-grasping ignorance. This is the root of all of our problems, right? So there's that, but along with it comes its sort of best mate, self-cherishing. So often they compare this to the Prime Minister and the Treasurer. They have the control over the country. Well, these 2 control over us. Right? And from that, those like the Prime Minister and the Treasurer, they make all these decisions, don't they? And the country follows. Well, these 2, self-grasping and self-clinging, they make decisions, and we go along, and then we get in trouble. So it's useful to sort of identify these 2 problem makers. It's like, that's the definite root. There's a real good reason for that, because the basic reason is most of us see our problems being like out there. these guys think, no, the problems are actually in here, these two guys, clinging and self-cherishing, self-grasping, self-cherishing. Sometimes we say, gee, the country's going to pot, like it's ruined. And we look for someone to blame, don't we? We often go to like a political party or whoever's running the country at the moment. And you'll find us often, we put our focus on the Prime Minister and those treasuries and that, and we complain about them. Buddhism says that's right, the real source of our problem is self-grasping and self-cherishing. So when we come to blame anything for our problems, it should be one of those two, because they're the major troublemakers. When they make decisions, we have to go along, and so we need to identify them basically. So we have this word clinging and its two roots. So clinging here means desirous attachment. So, and what you go, okay, so it's got these two roots. What are the drivers of this desirous attachment? Self-grasping and self-cherishing. And depends upon them, we have this desirous attachment or aversion. So it's the root of this clinging is self-cherishing. And self-cherishing is a deluded mental factor that regards one's own welfare as supremely important. So it's just another way of saying, when we think about things, that it's going to be you or me, we always go me, like I'm more important. And that's coming out of this, when we say it, we're saying it because we have a wrong understanding of who we are. That's the self-grasping. So self-grasping presents a wrong, identifies us wrongly, and then self-cherishing just goes along with it. So I need to look after you. The way I need to look after you is to push away anything that we call a problem and grab as much as we can to make you feel good. So the clinging observes the contaminated objects like gain or praise, exaggerates their attractiveness, and then insists upon procuring. And this self-cherishing arises from the deeper ignorance of self-grasping. So I just want to get across to you this idea. We've got the root, this is self-grasping and self-cherishing. These two go along. They produce this clinging, also called desirous attachment. What's it towards? All the things we like. So it's gain, praise, pleasure, good reputation. Whatever we think is good, self-cherishing is interested in that. It's good for us. What do I written here? So here they are. These are the two roots: self-cherishing, self-grasping. That's the major thing to take away from this. This is underneath everything else that's going to follow. So this clinging is like the internal force within us. It drives the pursuit of these four desirable factors: gain, fame, praise, and pleasure. And this, in its pursuit of gain and fame, praise, and pleasure, we get a lot of emotional reactivity. And this emotional reactivity is the chief obstacle preventing the mind from just being stable and at ease. Because we want stuff, we want things. I don't want to pull them in or push them away. So the mind can't just relax, like it's busy. And so this clinging is really just like the root of our dissatisfaction, and it does prevent liberation. And the idea here is just to get this idea, it's just, you can actually feel it within yourself, right? Like I remember one of the first times this came, it was really obvious to me, and I knew nothing about Buddhism at the time. And at that time, I knew nothing about auctions. I'd never been to an auction, right? So I had a mate, he went to them, and he used to make his money. He'd go to the auction, he'd buy things cheaply, and sell them more expensively and make money. I thought, great idea, I'll come along. And then he said, okay, he said, look, what I want you to do is just watch. Don't make a bid on anything. Okay. Could I do that? No way. No way. But I come on and said, that price is so great, I've got to have it. That's a great price. I put my hand up. So I started bidding, and I got these things, and after it I was going, missed the lesson. I didn't listen to my mate. I couldn't help it. I just thought the deal was so good. I have to put it in bid. And then the Trevor said, yeah, there's a lot of those here, and you would have got it cheaper if you just waited. So I just wanted you to see how the thing works. But I couldn't, and this is what the cherishing does, right? I can't wait to get the good thing, and I can't wait to get rid of the bad thing.
And in a way, that's what Boxing Day sales and Black Friday sales are, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. They work on that.
They basically latch onto that same thing that drives us, and they take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, like, when I often go shopping, like you look at things and uninteresting. Then they put sale, 40% off, and so it's like, ooh, now it's a good deal. So self-cherishing is like sort of like that, right? This energy, just like I want. It really drives greed, that's for sure. But it also drives fear too, because it cherishes this wrong idea of yourself. So it really tries to protect you, and you really think it's a good thing. You find it's not. It's like thinking you've got a really good mate, and in fact they've been working against you all your life, and you had no idea. Yes, self-cherishing is like. So, like the clinging side, like the grabbing in, is the we call it this desirous attachment, pulling in. But then we have this other side, to like protect. So that means we've got to push away the things that might harm us. So this self-cherishing does both. It pulls stuff in and it pushes stuff away. And it's given different names. One might be called desirous attachment, then called aversion, just because of the activity of the self-cherishing mind. Now, what did I write here? I said, this is it. So the I feels victimized and grows disproportionately large. That's what happens. You'll actually feel it. You actually feel yourself. You're really important at this time, right? I have to do something. This is what it will feel like. So what the idea here is, I'll probably get through to you, because as we go through, there are a lot of antidotes to the different problems, and there's lots of different ways of saying what this problem is. But one way you can make it really simple for you yourself is just to say, this is all the fault of self-cherishing. It's like saying all the problems in our country are the problem the Prime Minister's rubbish. Right? It's really simple. It just comes up with the one thing, okay, that's it. That's what I've got to work against. So some of you might be familiar with a text called our 7-point mind training. And in that text, it says, gather all blame into one, which means that all the objects that you've ever blamed before, instead of putting them all on all those other things, put them on just this one thing, which is the self-cherishing mind, because it's all coming from there. That's the real troublemaker. So, like, if you get that, you whack out a whole lot of problems for yourself. And so it says, gather all blame into one. So, put all your blames on self-cherishing and nothing out external to yourself. And then it says, and meditate on the great kindness of others. So, like, when we look at, there's us and there's others. So the others is like out there, right? So you sort of say, okay, so we think our problems are like out there, and he's saying, no, your problems are not out there. The others are not the source of your deepest source of your problem. The deepest source of our problem is self-cherishing. In fact, the others that you used to blame contribute to your happiness. They're all objects that made you who you are and developed all that stuff, right? He's saying, look upon the external objects as objects of kindness. Look upon all sorts of their problems as like the self-cherishing mind, how you're relating to the external world. And so there's nothing really wrong with the external world. The people are fine. There's a lovely thing we said, when the Buddha has looked over the world, he's never ever seen a problematic human being. Humans are not the problem. It's mental stuff that we put on humans. So that some of the mental stuff's the self-cherishing. That's the enemy, not them. Think badly of self-cherishing and think well of people or the weather or anything else that's happening. Right? That's the other. So self-cherishing is one thing and everything else is other. All problems, the source of all problems of this and everything else just contributes to my well-being and stuff. And like he said in the other one, he said, and all blame it to one, meditate on the great kindness of others. So this line, meditate on the great kindness of others. So meditate here means become familiar with how kind others are towards you and then cultivate their understanding. So this is this word meditation, right? Familiarity and cultivation. Learn to become familiar with the idea that everyone else is being really kind to you and cultivate that understanding. So, and this really helps you is when you look outwardly, you're not going to see what's the problem, right? You know, no, that's not the problem. The real problem's back here. And it's just a confused mind. It's just a mind that's supporting confusion. And like I said, even though in the text you'll see there's a lot of sort of martial analogies and metaphors, meaning sort of warfare, fighting. You just got to fight these things. But in fact, you don't. You just see right through them. What knocks them out is your own intelligence. They've all risen from a faulty understanding. So all it requires you to do is see it correctly. That's it. They're gone. They can't stand up anymore. So that's what we would try and do. This is the structure of our misery is diagnosed, this is what the Buddha did, is by recognizing that the self-cherishing attitude compels us to exaggerate the unattractive qualities of a situation or yet over-exaggerate the nice things about the situation. Analysis shows that we instinctively add mental pain to physical or circumstantial difficulties, multiplying the original hardship. So it says here, the prescription, what to do, is the cultivation of mindfulness and wisdom to confront this internal process directly. So the mindfulness means you just remember what to do. You remember doing the fault of self-cherishing. Oh, others are kind. That's what you've got to remember all the time. Otherwise, you just flip back to normal. Others are the problem, and my self-cherishing is my best mate. That's how we've been most of the time. So it's a habit, and it's hard to work against habits, as you all know. Identifying self-cherishing as the true internal enemy empowers us. So I like this because, if you think of it, like if you thought the external enemies was people who are your external enemy, what do you have to do then? Dead, right. That's right. Thank you. It's as simple as that, isn't it? They're the problem, get rid of them. Right? And throughout history, people have thought that, haven't they? And done it. Right? But it hasn't actually brought about what they wanted. Right? You just get a new group of people that hate you. You've got to kill them too. It's like, there's never, So it ain't going to work that way. Yeah, so this is, and the other thing, think of it, if they were that, this is about the only thing you could do, eh? So what can you do to change their mind? Well, you could buy them presents. If people do something, they leave you alone. Pay the bully. Or like you say, Sandy, you've got to fight it. Or you've got to run away. Isn't it? But none of these are really ways of empowering ourselves, are they? We're still like being the victim because this thing's got the hold over us. Yeah, so if we can see that actually the problems are coming from here, now we can change that. You see, that isn't it? All you have to do is to change a thought, is to think another thought. It's as simple as that. Or if something is really distracting, just move your eyes away from it. We do this, don't we? We don't like something, just look elsewhere, talk about something else. Go to the movies, go to the fridge. It's as simple as that. Yeah. But here, like I said, the thing is the moving the mind away from one object and placing it on another and coming from that perspective. Is identifying self-cherishing as the true internal enemy empowers us, transforming us from victims to either becoming an author or architect of your own life. So anybody here read Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl? Well, if you have, there's a part in there. So he discovered this in the concentration camp. But the only power he really had was the ability to think, was to use his mind. And then his oppressors could not take that away from him. And this is the same power we got. And what the thing is, you got to realize that the one thing that can take it away from you is the self-cherishing. So the same enemies, it's just that they're not out there. The enemy is your own afflicted mind, mental spaces. So if you know that and agree with it, then you change it out. And like I said, in a way, it's quite straightforward. They say, just change your mind. But sometimes it's not so easy to do, is it? As we all know, right? You might tell us something, then just change your mind, and we go, no, I don't want to. No, it's hard. But that's what's sort of required of us. Yeah, so Frankl found this out, and I found it like it is. It's a tremendously useful knowledge. I like to always remember that you yourself are the final arbiter of how things are. So this desire and diversion, this, as you can see, desire goes one way, the aversion goes the other way, and connecting them all is a self-cherishing. And so you've got to go up and down. We've got to keep liking some things and disliking other things. Like we might like, well, I do, I like wealth. I'd like to have a lot of money and count it and look at it and think about it. But dude, I wouldn't like to lose it all. Right? So that's the other side, right? It's like, ooh, you puffed up, feel great. There's two problems with it. One is you got to keep it. And the other is you can lose it. And so both sides are sort of unpleasant, isn't it? And that's what they call the suffering of wealth. You think, oh, I've got it all, I'll be great, but you won't be. You'll be concerned about losing it or how to get more, or the fact it's dribbling out all the time.
A lot of people try to take it away.
That's dead right, Terry. People are trying to take it away too, aren't they? Everyone wants to be wealthy, and they often look at those who have it, they want to take it. So this is, like I said, so we are sort of swept up and down, and even round and round. Because we have things that we really like and want to keep, and there's other things we don't want at all and we don't want them to happen. Now, whether that takes place or not is not entirely up to us. You know, like, why? Because if your mind is under the control of self-grasping and self-cherishing, they're the bosses. They're in charge. So until you decide that, no, they're actually problem makers, when you decide that, you start to get back control. And you can take away self-grasping and put in place wisdom. You remove self-cherishing and you put cherishing others. Now you've got a good mind. But until that happens, it's problematic. So in terms of what's this our topic called, the 8 worldly concerns. So the word worldly connotates a number of different meanings. What is it, when you hear the word worldly, what does it connotate for you?
Temporal, conventional reality.
Okay, temporal, conventional reality. Yeah, the reality of the ordinary people of the world, isn't it? Well, I first thought of it when I read it. I thought, it's what ordinary people do. You're interested in the world. Jimmy?
Sue says non-spiritual.
Okay, good one, Sue. Yeah, that's right. This is another way of contrasting, isn't it? Worldly people, spiritual people. The meaning here is a little different than that. The word worldly here sort of connotates more sort of uncertain in the fact that it's like a like these waves or a one of those things you sit on, seesaws that go up and down, right? It's like worldly means like up and down, no stability. There's these 8 concerns that have no stability. What are the things that have no stability? Gain, loss, fame, ignominy, praise, criticism, these things, right? And the word, so some we have 8 worldly concerns, some of us called 8 worldly dharmas. And so here the word dharma is used really to show the teaching of the Buddha, but here it's not. It just means a thing that is unstable, the 8 things that are unstable, that normal people are really interested in. And those things are like gain and loss and so forth, as you'll see shortly. So the worldly view is that external circumstances determine our feelings and the stability of the mind. But when we engage in the Dharma practice, we realize that all compounded phenomena, meaning anything that's come together through causes and conditions, is impermanent. So what I like about this is it's quite good is because you look and said, what do you say? All compounded phenomena. You might go, what's a compounded phenomenon? Right? So you go, and like I said, it's anything to do with causes and conditions. It comes together through causes and conditions. So you might ask, if there's compounded phenomena, is there something that's not compounded phenomena? You go, yeah, there is. And then you go, well, what are they? Well, there's only 4 things, 3 or 4 of them. And for most of us, you'll never come across them in your life. Right? So nearly everything for us will be compounded phenomena, which makes it easy, isn't it? You don't need to go on the uncompounded. You go, well, I'll tell you what the uncompounded are, right? Simply, the emptiness is a uncompounded phenomenon. Selflessness is an uncompounded phenomenon. And emptiness and selflessness, just different words, so basically the same thing. The other one they use is, and emptiness is a true cessation. Nirvana is a true cessation. So true cessations, for instance, nirvana, are absences, and they're never going to be filled. And that absence is permanent. So there's only 3 or 4 things in the world. So most of us, we don't need to worry about it. But like you go, pain and gain and loss, pleasure and pain, fame and ignominy, these 8 worldly concerns, are they products? Are they compounded? They are. So you can discover this, just ask, well, what is necessary to be famous? This is a question for us. What's the question? What's required to be famous?
Talent.
Talent?
Right time, right place.
Talent, time, place?
I said not necessarily talent.
Not necessarily talent. Yep.
Sue says fans.
Fans, that's right. You need fans, you're going to be famous. You're going to have some sort of media. So these are causes or conditions. So you take to anything. What about infamy? Yes, I need people to say I'm a bad man. I've actually got to have done something or not, so others think that I am a bad man. It's got to be known. So these are all things. So you go, it's all compounded then. They are compounded. So you think of anything, it depends upon all these little parts. You pull a part out or weaken one part, the whole thing starts to...
House of cards.
Yeah, that's right. They're right, Terry. It's a house of cards is a good analogy here. It's made up of all these unstable things. And this is what they mean by the worldly concerns. This fame is unstable. Gain and loss, they're unstable. You can lose gain, but loss, you don't have to keep losing. You can go back up again. So it's all up and down.
What would be the 4
Pairs.
conditions of non-proliferation. Was that space?
Yeah, so it's called uncompounded space. You have to say sort of uncompounded space too. This is a compounded space as well. Yeah, so it's uncompounded space. The true cessations of like nirvana or Buddhahood. And there's another type of cessation that is also permanent. So these are the little 3. 2 types of cessation and uncompounded space. Yeah, so often we present these courses and people go like, so what's uncompounded? And we all get stuck there. It's really hard to understand. Let's go to the stuff that's easy first. And on all these 4 pairs, they're sort of easy. We understand them. We've just got to get introduced to them. And you got to know that like it goes up and down. That's what it's all saying. So, gee, you don't want to put all your trust in it. In fact, a little while ago, I saw something on YouTube. So they're asking all these young girls what they wanted to be when they grew up. And the girls about 12, 13, so many of them said famous. I want to be famous. Yeah, I get it. But you don't know. You just see the upside of it and not the downside. Yeah. And that's what this sort of program is about. It's like, don't get hooked on the upside, but there's a downside. Right? Yeah, like after you get hooked, you get eaten. Yeah. So basically, it's sort of saying here, so as you'll see later on, the idea from all of this is just for you to walk away and go, yeah, underneath all these worldly concerns is these 2 things, self-grasping, self-cherishing. It's all coming from there. So I can either work against any of these 8 worldly concerns on them individually, or I can come back and look at the root cause and go self-cherishing, self-grasping. I can work on it there too. So you've got different aspects of work you can do. Yeah, so this is a quote from the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, where he says, all the harm with which this world is rife, all fear and suffering that there is, clinging to the I has caused it. What am I to do with this great demon? This is the way I've sort of summarized everything up. And often when you do this, you come across a verse like this, or the complementary verse, where he says, all the misery the world contains has come through wanting pleasure for oneself. Something's going to really rock you. You read that stuff and go, geez, and you think about your life and how what you've been trying to do all for yourself and what the outcomes are. It's sort of shocking. I found it at least. And, it's also shocking to go, geez, I don't have to do the opposite. And gosh, that looks difficult. No, it's so much easier just working for me. Put it that way, even though it doesn't work. So, is there anything you guys would like to add to this or say about this? So, I'd also say, just sort of introducing you to the material, right? This is not like a deep dive into it or anything like that. Just get an overall view of it. There's probably quite a number of different answers you can give here, and it would be highly dependent on the spiritual maturity of the person who's going through the difficulty. So I'd say, look, if you don't know anything about Buddhism and the Dharma and sort of thing, you can only work on the way you are right now, right? And from my perspective, you can look at it and go, well, yes, there's grasping at the I, there's self-cherishing, all this sort of stuff. But it's also true, like I say, when you're in danger, you have to save yourself. You have to save your life. You might ask yourself, is that self-cherishing? The answer would be no. Is there self-grasping going on? Yeah. But even when we die, we have virtue. Virtue is grabbed by self-grasping. There's little we can do about that until we remove self-grasping. So it's not a wrong thing to do at all. You have to protect yourself like that. again, there is a self that does exist, and it's worthy of protection. It's worthy of being saved. And self-grasping will help to do that, because it'll go group, and then the self-church will go, I'll help too. This is how it is. Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, it's like really quick. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You're not speaking philosophical.
No.
I think when I think about that situation, I have read some stories where people have developed themselves so much that because they didn't react the way that the other person kind of expected them to react, which is being scared or confronting them or defensive, it actually diffused the situation because the other person just got thrown off kilter and went, oh, I wasn't expecting you to connect to my humanity.
That's right. I've heard that with the stories too. Yes, it's highly dependent upon the person who's going through the difficulty, I guess. Yeah, I think that's how I'd approach it. You have to approach this on an individual level and go, the advice I give you is not suitable for Sandy or for Terry. For them, it might be a different type of advice. So another way of showing you how this desirous attachment works and the self-cherishing works. Suppose you have some really nice crockery, or even like a nice car, right? And you have some guests over, and maybe one or two people like gets a bit rowdy, and the cutlery is broken. Right? If you feel pain or any sort of like disturbance about that, where's that coming from? Is that coming from the broken cup, or is that coming from something about us? Yeah, yeah. So if we look here, then you can lessen your suffering immediately. You can also know, okay, it's not the cup, it's my mind that's creating my suffering. It's not the fact that the cup is broken. There's a lot of people sitting here don't give a damn about it. But somehow or other I do. So you'll see the same as like with your car, right? If you walked out and you see somebody going along with a screwdriver, just go, right? Same thing's going to happen, isn't it? Because like that's mine. And like mine is mine, and you're hurting mine, and so you're going to do something. Now, this like these are examples. I think this is the sort of stuff that happens in our world, isn't it? But you can go like, so again, if you see the person, or even if sometimes when you're in the car park and people open the door and they bang into the car next door, people get upset with that, don't they? Yeah, that's right. So, what you want to do is like be thinking about it before it happens, right? Like in here or when you're at home, thinking, Jesus, it's not the cups, it's not the door, it's not anything out there that's the problem. That's not what hurts me. It's this mind. It's the mind of self-cherishing. That's what's hurting me. Yeah. So it's sort of like, and try and do that a lot of times. So you switch from gradually going, this is the problem, this is causing my pain, to finding that self-cherishing is the pain driver here. You'll need to do this a lot because the habit has been to look outwards and look for where the harm's coming. So this is one way you've got to create a new habit, a new way of looking at it.
Something Venerable Tupten Shoulder said that I found really interesting, because when you possess something, it's really hard to convince yourself that actually it's all from your side, the projection. And she said, well, think about before you buy an object, if someone damages it, you don't care. But the moment you bought it and someone damages it, suddenly it's a big deal. And I was like, it's so subtle, but like, where did suddenly the anger come from, right? It's the same object. But then the moment you possess it, it's like suddenly I am hurt. So I don't know, I just found that very interesting.
Yeah, Hollis used to talk about that when he was, when he used to buy a watch. He'd be standing out looking at the window, and no aversion, no attachment to the watches. They're just nice looking watches. If you were to walk in and the shop owner was to drop the watch on the floor and break it, you might feel a little bit of concern for him, eh? But if you had bought it yourself and then dropped it on the floor, your response would be very different, wouldn't it? And this is the sort of thing where you can tell, this is the self-cherishing. And often, one of the instructions you try and tell yourself, not mine, not mine, not mine. Yeah. And that you say it sort of you analyze to go, where is the real me that owns the real watch? And of course, the real me and the real watch aren't found under analysis. So it's true, it's not yours. Yeah, okay, that's helpful. Okay, so I've just done these little bits here, and I better get a move on. So let's do our first meditation. Just sit comfortably. So we're going to investigate truth. We want to discover whether we have real enemies external to ourselves who are causing us problems. So we have to decide, is our enemy an external person or a situation, or is it our self-cherishing mind? What's the self-cherishing mind? It's this inner habit that we have that clings to praise and fears blame. It clings to pleasure and fears pain. Self-cherishing always sees our own welfare as most important. So what's the function of self-cherishing? Well, from its point of view, it might say it's to help us. But our experiences, that it constantly disturbs a peaceful mind. It makes us a victim of life's ups and downs. The mind of self-cherishing is seen as a great thief and a robber. It's called a murderer. It's denigrated many, many times in the Buddhist texts. So it basically steals our happiness. It destroys our happiness. It makes the mind unpeaceful. But why is this inner thief so hard to spot? This self-cherishing, the inner thief, is really hard to spot because it disguises itself as our protector, as our friend. It's convincing us that external things are the real threat to the peace that we're seeking. So how might we be able to notice this thief in action during the normal course of our day? So you will notice the presence of the thief, self-cherishing, during the day, the moment your mind becomes dependent on something outside of you. The moment your peaceful state of mind becomes dependent upon something outside of you. Understanding this, how might we be able to apply this when we ourselves feel upset? We just gently turn our attention inward. We turn our attention away from the external triggers and acknowledge this inner thief of self-cherishing. So this is the actual true source of disturbance. And that identification is an empowering awareness. So know that just by identifying this inner thief, we can reclaim our own power. And therefore, the source of our own peace is always within our own hands. Now, breathing in through your nostrils, exhale through your mouth. So now we come to the identification of these 8 worldly concerns, and this is taken from a Pali text, which is gain and loss, disrepute and fame, blame and praise, pleasure and pain. These 8 worldly concerns revolve around the world, and the world revolves around the 8 worldly concerns. So according to the Buddha, everything we do in this world is shaped by these dharmas. And dharma is just like a factor, right? Factors that function as the 8 worldly concerns. Constantly preoccupied with them, ordinary people chase short-term happiness and are blocked from developing deeper, more stable states of mind. And these states appear as these 4 pairs of opposing factors. Now, I don't know if this is it's not common knowledge, but these 8 worldly concerns and the attachment and aversion we have to each side, they are, the attachment and aversion have degrees of heaviness, you might say. And so these different degrees are given colours. So they say there's the black 8 worldly concerns, the 8 worldly concerns that are mixed, and there are the 8 worldly concerns that are white. But they are all problematic, whether they're white, black, or mixed. Right? That stays the same. It's just like, how bad are they when they're black? How bad are they when they're white? And how bad when they're mixed? So when they talk about like being like black, it's just this unbridled motivation of attachment to the immediate happiness. So just like when I saw that when the things were being auctioned, that I would have said that would be black immediately. That was attachment for sure. You know, had to have those louvers, thinking they're going to make me happy. If I had them, I could make money. I'm happy. That's a black one, right? The white ones are, you don't have that part, but you do have the grasping at them as being real. They objectively exist. Right? So this, in other words, yes, they are louvers, but we identify them as truly existent louvers in the case of wanting to buy the louvers. If you had attachment to a person, it would be, this is your person, that's true, that's correct, but you've overestimated them over their existence. So that would be like the white. It's not so much the major problem is just this self-grasping. And self-grasping nearly always kicks off self-cherishing. They go together in ordinary people. And when they are mixed, there's not that much concern for like an example of like we buying something. It might attachment to no, I'll give you a better example, I think. A different example would be in the Buddha Dharma, you've got two types of practitioners in general. So one group is trying to get rid of self-grasping, and the other group is trying to get rid of self-grasping and self-cherishing. So one group, you get rid of the self-grasping, but the self-cherishing is there. The other group has to get rid of the self-grasping and the self-cherishing, in other words. So what's an example of someone who's got rid of the self-grasping, but not the self-cherishing? Then from a Mahayana perspective, you say all those people who just wanted self-liberation, all those people that just wanted to look after themselves, free themselves from suffering, that's a good thing. So you get rid of self-grasping, but there's still that subtle self-cherishing. This is all done for yourself. You know, it's still this is an authentic way in the Dharma. It's okay. It's just like if you can't get your head around like, gee, self-cherishing, upside down, they go, self-cherishing, that's too hard. To bring all beings to enlightenment, you must be joking. That's too hard, man. Like it's hard enough for me. So you go, okay, yeah, so those people, that's where you get this mixed one. Right? They got rid of the self grasping, but there's still the self-cherishing there. Like so that goes up all the way, sort of thing. So I just need to know you have like these like a degrees in each of these factors. And here we have our 4 pairs. So there's different ways of talking about it. One is called attachment, a version of this called attachment, this thing overestimating. So on the good side, it's called that delight, and on the other side, it's not. So here we are. They're receiving money or possessions. We really like that, but we overestimate how good it is. And the other side, not receiving or losing money or possessions. And as you can see, so we'll just go through them like this. With pleasurable sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and tangible objects, all the objects of the senses, we can overestimate them in relationship to our feelings. So this second level is really about feelings. You know, and with those objects that produce an unpleasant feeling, we don't want the object and we don't want the feeling. So we're reverse to it. And we think it's really like bad. You know, we overestimate the bad. In terms of our reputation, most of us, like I said, the girls want to be famous, right? No one wants to be like you don't exist, you don't matter. Everyone wants the other side. And of course, the other side's like, yeah, no one wants to be thought badly of either, to go through the world, you know, people pointing at them, this is the fellow who did this or that. I don't like it. Of course, on the other side, again, in terms of praise and approval or criticism, we all want the praise and the approval. We don't want to be criticised, so forth. So it's interesting, just talking about this now, saying it, because I watched a documentary last night on Elon Musk. Anybody know about his childhood? He had a terrible childhood. But from one perspective, right? From the perspective of the world, because he was criticized heavily. He was beaten up often. He was like the abject outsider. But it made him to be the proof. He had to realize it was all on him. So that's what he spent all this time as a kid, studying. I want to know how the world works. That's what is really interesting. Like, how do I work? How does it work? How does this thing work? Years and years just reading, you know, books. Of course, like he's the nerd, just like now, right? You get beaten up. That's what happened to him. And it's in South Africa, right? A really violent place. And that's what he's saying. It was interesting watching his face. You just see the pain come across. You know, it was interesting to watch because he's not a person that has a great deal of control over his emotions. So you can see him across his face. You know, like the hurts that come out. Because, you know, the interviewers are trying to, you know what they do, right? Try to get you. Well, they get him. Like they say the words, man. It's like, nevertheless, he had to it was because he was criticised so heavily, because he was blamed, because he was never seen as father said, you'll be nothing. One of the interviews in the thing that you notice about Elon is like, and there's a number of other blokes I've been watching, these famous people I've been watching, like what makes them the great people, right? And one of the things is to take criticism, to take blame, and think nothing of it. They don't get upset. It's just like move on, next thing. Problems they don't see them as problems. In fact, one of the stories I remember about it was, you know, he hires a lot of people, and this bloke comes to them with a problem they've got, and he fires them immediately. You know why? Because their job's to solve problems, not to bring them to him. You don't know your place here, mate. Find another job. And yeah, so he's been married a few times. He's an unusual fellow, that's for sure. He's not got a mind like ours. And like his wives are saying to him, yeah, you get about 2 hours of his life every day. That's about it. If you can't put up with it, you'll get divorced. Of course, he gets divorced, because people can't put up with it. But yeah, you know, just looking at this one, Jesus, he's gone the other side. You know what we don't like. He's trained himself to put up with and to actually accept. You know, and so I thought, wow, that's like this. You know, this is what we're to do. So that don't look at you know, one of the things. Oh, sorry, I'm getting carried away here. This is it. I'll read this. We must be careful in terms of how we understand these sets of factors. We should not think the 8 worldly dharmas means that we should not have them, or that we should go out of our way not to gain anything. And we should not think that being praised is better than being denigrated and so forth. Right? It means that we should not look for them too much. So this was shocking for me to read. This is only recent. I've been doing this for like about 20 years, you know. And I've gone, and everything I've read about it, it's like they're really, really bad, and like you got to get rid of them, and there's no way to engage in a spiritual path when you do. And you read it, go, well, I'm a bloke just starting. Right? Like, where do I get anywhere if I can't get rid of these? And then to see His Holiness says, not look for them too much. Now that I can do. You know, all of us can do that. We can look, you know, we can run it through and go, yeah, you know, you might think, oh, cancer's a terrible thing, but you know, what's the good thing about it? You know, so it might change the way of living your life. You know, people often say this, don't they? Like, it changed my life. You go, yeah, that's right. So it's not exactly all bad, is it? Right? And that's what he's sort of saying here. Don't focus but too much on either the bad side or the good side. Don't cling too much.
So it's almost like we don't rely on the 8 worldly concerns. They will come in our lives and they will go in our lives, and we expect them and we deal with them as best we can when that happens, but we don't go out of our way chasing them or pushing them away. Yeah, and also so it's one of the things he says, we should not care too much whether people are praising us or putting us down. You know, so we all know when it's too much is when we've got them by the neck. It's too much, right? We're too much. So we should not care too much whether people are praising us or putting us down, or that one wants any kind of pain. It also means that we should be able to handle losses when they occur and not be thrown into a deep state of depression or despair. Yeah, it's just like finding the middle way with this, and, you know, looking at it and going, you know, sometimes we are praised, there are times when we are blamed. This is true. Sometimes we're richer, sometimes we're poorer.
it's just that don't get too upset about this, right? I think that's the real thing to take away from this, and not become too extreme and go, again, another thing I should point out, money and the possessions is not the problem. And having no money and no possessions is not the problem. Never being praised is not such a great thing. And always being praised is, it's all over. So what's the problem here? If it's not in the pleasurable sights, there's no problem with looking at things and appreciating them or tasting lovely food, all these things. That's not the problem. Having fame, that's not a problem. Being unknown, that's not a problem. What's the problem then?
Most of the problem is the actions that it brings about.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And so what's driving the actions?
Well, the desire.
That's right. Yeah, that's this desirous attachment or the aversion. Yeah, it's the aversion, it's the mental things. The aversion or the desirous attachment. That's the problem. Not food, not fame, not money, not any of those things. They're not the problem. So he said, don't have too much attachment to money or to fame, things like this. Yeah, you'll enjoy it, no problem. Oh, I was just saying.
Amongst the Lebanese,
This is grave.
Mahal,
Yeah, I know.
And because it's seen as more agony that
you can demonstrate, show the more love. Care you have for the dead. Yeah, but also, as you say, also, well, they do it here on Black Friday. That's right. It's like stimulus and spend our income and feel really good about what we buy. Yeah, so marketeers and these two wings of business, market and they're really geniuses at using phenomena to influence the mind. And thank you, advertising, yeah. Marketing and advertising, they know heaps about, I mean, that's where most money is spent around learning how we work, right? And they use it to their advantage. So if we can sort of understand what they're doing to us, we go, hang on a minute, no, I don't need to buy into it. So basically, let's have a look at this. I'm looking at that, wow.
I've got 7 slides to go in.
Yeah. So gain and loss, I'll put this picture up here. You know, when you get those, you must have seen the pictures or you had the experience yourself. The idea is like, say you've got all the sand, right? But you're on the beach and you build up this wonderful home and you're so pleased with it. And then a wave comes and whoosh, gone. And most times kids get really upset, don't they? You know, and the parent has to come along and go, well, dad's not upset, mum's not upset. So that's the clue, right? Why? They don't have attachment to the sandcastle. You do. So yeah, building sandcastles is fine. No need to cry though when the water comes in. So, so what this tells us, yeah, so this water has like change, meaning impermanence. None of this stuff is stable. That's what it's all saying. And because it's not, don't cling to it as if it were. Because that would be a wrong response, wouldn't it? If you know it's not stable and impermanent and subject to change, you don't want to hold on to it as if it's not going to change. You get yourself in trouble. So this is what this is about. So now, pleasure and pain. So I'll put these bubbles up and the sandcastles because they're different analogies to show you how you can deal with the attachment and the aversion. So physical feelings, they're described, and the analogy given is that they are like bubbles, the feelings. And so it's not like bubbles like this, the pictures like this. It's bubbles, so you might have, if you've ever seen the surface of a lake or water and the rain hits it and the bubbles form. Like it's the force of the water coming down from the sky, hits this and you get a bubble and it's gone. That's how our feelings are. They're like that. But the problem for us is we cling to the feeling. And you find yourself in many conversations you can have where either yourself or another person's had a feeling a while ago, but they're talking about it now as if it's the same feeling. But it's definitely not. So it's like, well, and this is where they say the big problem is permanence, freezing impermanent phenomena into permanent things, taking something that happened a long time ago, putting it in the present, talking about it as real now. The terrible thing about it is you're going to get the response of it. You're going to get the experience of it right now as if it were the real thing. In fact, the thing happened ages ago, or yesterday, or 10 minutes ago. So you're not dealing with real feelings here. They've gone. They go, like I said, that's why I give the knowledge of the cut, gone, gone. They're going like that. But it's happening so fast for us, we don't even recognize it. And this is why meditation is so important, especially on mindfulness of feelings. You actually just sit there and create a feeling, generate one, and say, what actually happens? Now, what is the feeling? So actually try and have an experience of one rather than just the knowledge of it. Because the problem with knowledge of it is we reify it each time. So then it becomes like, it's going to always appear to us, it's the same thing. It's not. So these extreme reactions towards our feelings, they don't help us. Reputation, fame, and dispute. So, as you said, chasing a good reputation is like trying to paint a self-portrait on the surface of a rushing river. No rushing river there, but you get the general idea. You exhaust yourself trying to hold the image in place, but the current of changing circumstances washes it away the moment you lift your brush. This is this is one of the things with fame. Anybody read that poem Ozymandias? If you ever read that, that is a great thing to show this. And it's called Ozymandias. And what it happens is it talks about a wanderer in the desert, and he comes across these ruins, and in the ruins is this huge statue of a head. And it says, I am the great Ozymandias, creator of the world. And you look there, and there's nothing but sand for miles and miles and miles of crushed rock, and just that head of rock in the name. Like that, so I just go, man, that's all over the world. You go to any country and just look back, and all the cities are gone. All the people are gone. All the people who are famous, it's not there. If there was anyone famous, it exists only as a memory now. And what use is that to anyone? Oh, right, the actual one.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So who wrote that poem? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I thought, and I look back, I thought, there's in the where's this history of some country in South America. So those big the tombs you see those aerial views of Mexico, all the tombs that are built, you go, wow, it's like city of pyramids. You know what we're on them? Pictures of the guys who created them. It's like it's like what we do for advertising now. That was their advertising. They were, I'm the greatest. Look at me. So all those big things were all coloured in and painted in with a picture of the guy who did it, the ruler. But it's like we don't even know who they are anymore. And then social standing, praise and blame. This is the pair of praise and blame, or approval and criticism, approval and disapproval, is intimately related to social standing because they represent the core mental factors through which ordinary beings constantly seek validation and confirmation of their perceived wealth and image within society. Praise is the desire for approval and accolades, elevating our perceived standing, while blame is the rejection or criticism or derogatory words which threatens to demolish the image. Realize that words of praise and blame are transient, external phenomena. So it's interesting, it's still like words, bricks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Your words can't hurt you physically. Yet look how we behave towards the way. Like, yeah, if you sort of hit me with a stick, you go, right. And we want to do the same when they use their words, don't we? It's like, I'll do the same to you. But actually, you look, in one of the Dharma books I read about words, so I was thinking like the written word, but they were talking about the words spoken. And they said, so what is a word spoken? Now, when you break it up, it's go, well, there must be some, what is it? It's sounds. You might call them vowels, I guess, there's that sort of thing. So you could say, is it the whole word that hurts you? Is it just the syllable? Is it the sound? You go, none of it, none of it, none of it. So why are you hurt? How come you hurt? Is it, well, because I cling to what I can perceive the meaning of it to be. So we grab the meanings of these words, and put them on us. You need that and go to this trap, right? So, like I said, this is what really creates the big problems. We know we've got aversion and attachment in the mind; it just does it sort of automatically. But when it comes up, we want one or the other. It's that's just. And when we get one side that we don't like, we're going to react against it, get upset. If we get what we do like, we're happy chappies. It's good. Like I said, if this is what I take to be my major way of working with this stuff, and it is this. Look, that's it. That's it. Like I said, I take this because from a question. Like you ask this question, where is the problem? Like if you look for a problem in the world, I'll tell you now, you'll never find one. There's nothing out there like problem written over it. This is it. Here we go. We found it. Yeah, no. It comes from this side. We have to, we label it problem, and now we're reverse. Or we're very interested if we want to solve it. So I found this idea really useful. It's like the aversion and the attachment are sort of coming up from us. So aversion is about we're overemphasizing the negative aspect of it. Attachment is we're overestimating the positive aspect of it. So in other words, we're sort of seeing the object clearly. Yes. And so, what's our time? A little bit of time, good. So, with this, the misconception is we instinctively believe that external circumstances, such as misfortune, criticism, or loss, are the sources of our difficulty and suffering. This is a natural, quick thing to happen. Nearly everyone will think this. Right? Our job is to, yes, we think about it and disagree with it. Yeah, it looks like that, but it's not. The true cause is the internal reactivity driven by self-cherishing. So self-cherishing is driving this attachment and aversion from the mind side. The true cause is the internal reactivity driven by self-cherishing, causing us to pursue those desirable worldly objects and to reject the undesirable. The implications are, since the suffering exists inside our mind, we can control and transform it. That's the beauty of it. If we were out there, it's like trying to get your kids to do what you want them to. Good luck. It's hard, eh? It's much easier. We just decide what we want to do. It's easy, right? And that's the place to work. So the primary solution of all is the cultivation of equanimity. and applying the antidote of wisdom, realizing the interests of inherent existence. So in the next few weeks, I'm going to take you through the different antidotes you can use. The simplest of is impermanence. None of these phenomena are stable. You can go from impermanence, then work against the self-cherishing by doing giving and taking or equalizing, exchanging. That will lead you right up into equanimity, and from equanimity you can go to emptiness. But there's lots of solutions here. It's just you have to apply them. You have to remember, like it's not out there, it's back here, and this is the antidote. This is what I need to remind myself of. And the lovely thing about this is, as His Holiness says, if we stop blaming the others, then we undermine the basis for all future suffering. Maybe I said these two things we need to do. We need to stop blaming others, and the other thing is think of their kindness. The two, they're very good antidotes to our suffering. Like I said, niceness, like I said, our natural go is you look outside. Who's that French philosopher whose definition of hell said other people? I go, yeah, mate, you're wrong. But yeah, it's a nice saying, isn't it? My definition of hell is other people, just being around them driving us nuts. Sorry? No. There's a French guy who said this. Yeah. Anyway, but I love this, I said, yeah, if we stop doing that and go put the blame on self-cherishing, that's actually the problem maker, not the people. And it makes their lives a big problem too. There's not much difference between ourselves. Yeah, the difference is I know it and they don't. So of course they're going to keep blaming me because they don't know. But from my side, I have to stop blaming them, isn't it? So that's not true.
And if you wake up every morning going, hell is other people, you have to basically wake up ready to fight every day because you're going to encounter people all day long.
Oh, that's right. It makes life terrible, doesn't it?
And you've got no power.
No, not at all. No, that's right. There's terrible things that follow from saying that, isn't there? Yeah. Okay, last meditation, then we'll call it a day. Okay, let's get settled. We want to investigate whether the truth about peace that we're looking for comes from our own attitudes, not from external circumstances. So the issue is not experiencing gain or loss, but the mind's habit of grasping one and pushing away the other. Because this pattern makes our happiness dependent on unpredictable external events. Now, imagine if you're a sailor on a small sailing boat. You cannot control the wind, but you can adjust the sails of the boat. In the same way, we can't control the events that life will throw at us, but we can adjust our attitude towards them. So why is adjusting our inner sails more effective than commanding the wind? Well, this is because the winds of life are uncontrollable, while the sails of attitude are always within your own power to adjust. So how can you tell if you're fighting the wind or adjusting the sails in a difficult moment? So fighting the wind feels like a struggle. Adjusting the sails feels like a sort of flexible and balanced response. So for the rest of the day, just rest in the knowledge that you are the sailor. You're capable of navigating in any weather. So either hoist the sails or bring them down. It's up to you. And breathing in, exhaling, letting go. So today, you know that there are these 4 pairs of worldly concern. Like there's gain and loss, pain and pleasure, fame and infamy, praise and blame. There is you might be able to find these books upstairs. Teachings from Tibet, we've got a number of those up there, and there's this commentary on 8 verses of thought transmission. They're for free, but you can make a donation for them. And there may be even some of these how to practice Dharma books. If you, like I said, if you have it, your own, of course, try and read these pages. If not, there may be some free ones still upstairs that you can find. It's a terrific book, this book, How to Practice Dharma. And so next week we're going to look at the 4 of these concerns: gain and loss, which relate to our external security, and pleasure and pain, which relate to our physical feelings. Like, what antidotes can we use and how can we use them when we have aversion or attachment to either of these? Okay, so I'll see you then. So let's dedicate our merit then. So due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha, lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. Then may the supreme jewel, bodhicitta, not yet born and rising there, may that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain to discharge the sorrows of the world. A prayer for the long life of His Holiness. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And finally, a prayer for the authentic identification of the new rebirth and His quick return to us. In holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make this request. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for the people online, and have a good day. God yourself.